Thank you so much to everyone for coming out on a Friday night. We really appreciate it. We're going to have a really fun, enlightening conversation here with Gad.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's very strange for me. It's the first time I go on stage and I don't start right away something. You know, like I have to wait and I'm going to talk. I've never done this before, so I'm not used to it. I was going to perform and I was going to do something, but
I was going to say at any moment, feel free to just pace back and forth if you want and go on.
But I was impressed when I heard your intro. I was impressed. When I heard my intro, I was happy. When I heard your intro and all the people you interviewed, I was impressed.
Well, that's actually all made up.
Okay. She's the funny one tonight.
Let's go ahead and start at the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So let's go to Morocco.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah, because this is where I was born and raised, in Sephardic Moroccan family. Been fired of all the schools in Casablanca. And one day, because I had done all the schools, no schools left.
There's just one left.
Yeah, my parents said we have to do something with him. We don't know what to do, and I decided to move to Montreal, to Canada. We have Canadians here tonight. We have Moroccans, that's great. And then I spent 4 years in Canada, starting to be inspired by the stand-up comedy in French. And the amazing thing in Quebec is that I discovered stand-up in French. And the thing is, in France, we have a tradition of one-man shows and theatrical art and theater, but we didn't have stand-up comedy back in the day. And what was really amazing to me in Quebec is that I would watch the comics doing stand-up in the language I understand, just like Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld, and these other comics. And I got inspired. And then I said, I want to do this. But my parents said, if you want to do this, you need to learn I was like, no, I know how to do it. They said no. And then I moved to France, to Paris. And I went to the acting school. But I was not very interested in acting. I learned. I think I know a little bit, but it's just not as exciting as writing, observing, and performing, and being funny in front of an audience. So I very briefly, very quickly wrote my first one-man show called Décalage, means jet lag, time difference. And it's really interesting because this first show that I wrote in 1994 is very, not similar, but reminds me a lot of my show 23 years ago I wrote about my story coming to America. This is another country, this is another moment of my life, but I feel the same.
Going back a little bit then, do you remember the very first comic you ever saw, and what kind of an impression that made on you?
Yeah, it's a very clear memory. I was 5 years old in Casablanca, and back in the day, movies in Morocco were just karate or Hindi movies. Where they would cut all the scenes where they kiss or they touch, and like the TV show Dallas. Do you remember, obviously, Dallas?
Absolutely.
We had it,
yeah, okay.
but they would cut the whiskey, the kissing. I mean, that was a very funny show for me. JR would come back home and just go and I never understood, by the way, why he had those little...
Right.
There was a bottle of whiskey and then the glass, and he would go like this. And his wife was here, and he would go like this. So the kissing, the whiskey, everything was censored. Back in the day in Morocco, last now. But to go back to the first movie I watched was The Kid, Charlie Chaplin, 5 years old. I'm with my dad, and I'm crying in this movie theater in Casablanca. It was a shock in a good way, because I discovered comedy. I'm going to quote Jerry Seinfeld again. He always says, comedy is simple, but it's not easy. And when I saw Charlie Chaplin, I was like, it's so simple, not in a simplistic way. It's so obvious. The setups for comedic situations are so strong that a 5-year-old kid can get them and laugh right away with an audience. And I kept that for the rest of my life. Every time I start to write something, I have Charlie Chaplin, Jerry Seinfeld, and I'm like, cut the fat. Don't explain too much. And because I lived in France, you know, we love to talk a lot and explain everything, and for no reason. Like here in America, it's like very, you know, efficient words. You know,
Oh,
like,
yes.
it's like there are some expressions in English that we don't have in France that I really love here in America. There's one word here that I love is browsing. I'm browsing. You go to a store and someone is like, "Can I help you?" You say, "I'm browsing." It's okay. It's gonna leave you alone. There's no problem.
And then do you do that then on the web? Browsing?
Yeah, browsing too. But in France, you would have to use maybe, I don't know, a lot of words to send the same message. You know? Actually, I don't know if I'm gonna buy, but you know what? I'm gonna see if it's good, the price. I call my wife. Do you think it's... Here it's like, I'm browsing. All right, no problem. Go ahead.
What's the first time then that you actually performed stand-up in English?
Well, I remember very clearly because I really, here's another word, bummed. This is a terrible word. It's really interesting in the stand-up. There are two words. Whether you do good or bad, that are related to the war. It's either you kill, oh man, you killed, or you bombed. I don't want to kill, I don't want to bomb, I just want to be funny. And the first time I did stand-up in English was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I would say, 5 years ago. It was a great memory and a catastrophe because I was stupid. I thought I would have to translate my strongest bits or beats? No, bits, betterave, bits. And beat in French is another story you don't want to know.
I was going to say that's a completely different meaning.
I'm so sorry. But if I'm honest, I need to tell you what's beat in French. Because a bit is a joke, right?
Yes.
A bit.
Yes.
A beet is a vegetable.
Yes.
And in French is a bad word for...
Oh, got it.
Okay. You know, we're uptown.
Yes.
Upper East. I don't want to shock people. We're Upper East? Yeah.
We're Upper East, yes.
I'm sorry, I lost the...
We're talking about your bits.
You see? She just did what we call a callback without knowing she was saying. First time I did stand-up in English, so I translated my jokes from French to English, and it was a mistake. I was kind of a pretentious, like, oh, I have strong jokes, I've done them so many times in France, in arenas, they know them, and then I translated them, and I went to a club, the New York Comedy Club, and then they gave me, they said, we're gonna give you 5 minutes, because they didn't know, and they were right, I mean, they knew what they were doing, you know? Like 5 minutes, it was already a humiliation. I mean, I can't imagine. And then I went on and I translated. It's terrible. I still have the video and it's terrible. I translated, and that night was really helpful. I walked a lot, like for 2 hours, and I said, you have to write material about your experience, your perspective, the fact that you are here. That's what stand-up is, and that's what they expect from a comedian. You have to write material about bombing in a club in English with translated jokes. You have to write a bit about, it has to be real. What do you care about? And then I started to write about what I was observing and experiencing here in America. And it was really fun, you know, because that's what I do anyway in my life. Comedians do that no matter what, you know, even if they don't have to do it on stage, we do it anyway.
Tell us about the very first time you ever took to the stage at all.
December 10, 1994. I remember this date very clearly. I was all blocked. My whole body I was really blocked. It was 4 p.m. How am I gonna do the show? There were maybe 20 people in the room and maybe 18 from my family. Which is the worst audience ever.
The worst audience?
Yeah. I mean, 18 Moroccans waiting for you to be funny right away, and they brought their friends and they brag and they don't care about you, it's about them, like, And then you're there trying to do the show, but it was great. I had how you say that, a guardian angel.
Yeah, guardian angel.
A man named Michel Azoulay was absolutely not in the entertainment business. He was in the clothing.
Oh, okay. Fashion.
Clothing business. Very surprising for a Moroccan Jew in Montreal. This guy was nuts. And he said to me, I really believe in you and I want to produce this show. And he came to Paris and I said, I would love Michel, but you know, I don't have anything. I didn't write anything. And he said, but just do what you do when you come on Friday nights at home and when you talk to us, all those stories. I said, but it's not enough to make a show. And he said, no, I swear, your stories are great. You should do it. And I said, no. He left. He called me 1 week later and he said, do whatever you want, but the theater is booked.
Wow.
And I'm trying to bring people, which is another problem. But and you know, they're going to be there, and we're going to be waiting for you. I was in panic, but it was a great shock for me. That's why I always try to teach that to my son. It's very hard to explain to him, but sometimes I try to tell him, I know you maybe don't have confidence right now. I know. And of course, somebody has to come and help you, but you have to, I don't have the word in English, to surpasser. Wow. Overcome? Overcome?
Yeah.
Okay. Overcome. Are you okay with it?
Yes, that's good. That's all fine.
Overcome, like you
Overcome,
go.
yeah.
It's very, very hard to, teach this value and this. But I did it. It was not a great show, but it was a big shock and a good shock for my first, for my first show live, alone on the stage. And then I watched the tape. Mm-hmm. It was a big cassette. That
like
old.
In a VCR.
Yeah. The VCR. Watched it and saw all the mistakes and then I was like, yeah, this is really that's what I want to do. This is for me. This is my thing. When I started to watch all the comedians, French and Americans, and I've always been inspired by It was interesting because I wouldn't get the language 100%, even in English, but I was inspired. It's really strange. Until now, sometimes I see comedians and watch comedians from other countries with other language, and I can tell you, I learn from them. I don't know. It's again. The first time I met with Jerry Seinfeld, he said, "Oh, I saw your thing on the internet. You're very funny." I said, "But you don't speak French." And he said, "But I know when someone is funny." And I said, "How?" And there was this scene, very interesting. I was in Cannes Film Festival, and I was going to go on a talk show with him. Never met him before. He's my biggest, I'm his fan, really. He's my inspiration. And the host said, "We're going to have you and Jerry Seinfeld." "You, it's okay?" "What do you mean it's okay?" See, I mean, like the host, I said, like, if you want, you don't have to come. You don't have to be there. I'm good, of course, no problem. First time, it was 12 years ago. And then I went on this talk show, and before going on the talk show, he was promoting a B movie, the animated.
Right, the B movie, yeah.
And he was in a Hotel Martinez, and the host said, "Okay, the publicist is gonna come and introduce you to Jerry Seinfeld," and a big entourage, and Chris Rock was there because he was also in the B movie, and that was interesting because I was on my territory where I'm famous, but I was nervous. It was weird. Like, people would ask me autograph, and I was shaking. "No, please, not now." And then I was waiting in a room with a lot of journalists and actors, and then the door opened, and Jerry showed up before going on the talk show. First time I see him live. And I swear, I'm not making that up. There were maybe 20 people. So they stood up, like, "Hey, hi," and Jerry looked around and pointed like this to me and said, "You're the funny guy." And I said,
Wow.
"How do you know I'm the funny guy?" He said, "You're the funny guy." Like, I know where the funny guy is in the room. You're the funny guy. There's one funny guy in this room, and you're the funny guy. And I said, "No, there are two funny guys, because there's you." And Chris Rock said, "Hey, I'm here." I said, "Okay." So I played it like cool, they're my buddies. Like, yeah. I was sweating. Then we did the talk show. And it's always been weird because he's my idol, but when they announced me on the Cannes Croisette, the big thing, people were like, they announced Jerry. They didn't know, like, the crowd didn't know him, but I was impressed. I was like telling the crowd, like, this it's big. And I've been inspired by him a lot, even, of course, before meeting him. And another figure that really inspired me, and never met him, he passed away now, and he's the only comic in America who questioned the language as if he was a foreigner, is George Carlin.
Oh,
And
of course.
I watch his work over and over again, all the time. I read what he wrote, the thoughts he wrote. I watch the sketches, and it's so interesting because I've never seen anyone American questioning that strong his own culture and language, even though he was an English-speaking performer. He would be very perplexed and amused and find the words and expressions, and I can relate to that because in French and in France we come from this tradition of, I would say, deconstruction.
Right.
And this is what I love the most, either in philosophy or humor. It's deconstruction. This is my passion.
Absolutely. And so now, obviously, Jerry Seinfeld and George Carlin, very different comics.
Yeah.
When did you first come across Jerry Seinfeld's work? Was it with the show?
Was
or
with the
it as
TV, the
stand-up?
TV show, the TV series. I love the TV series. I love the show, but it's with the stand-up that and honestly, I'm going to say something very pretentious. Mm-hmm. When I saw his stand-up the first time, I said, I know exactly what he's talking about. I'm connected to this man, and one day we're going to meet. I don't know why. It's very weird. It's the same thing with Woody Allen.
Really?
Like 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I said one day I'm connected to this kind of, and I did a Midnight in Paris, and I was so happy, and I told him. But he was really funny. I said to Woody Allen, I knew we were going to meet. He said, I didn't know.
He didn't run. He seems like
I had no idea. Okay.
He didn't have the same vision.
Of course. No, he didn't.
Okay.
He didn't see a clip from a little Moroccan and saying, "Oh, this guy," shooting Annie Hall and watching my clips.
Right. Going back to Jerry. Now, of course, if you look up in American Wikipedia, one of the first things they say about you, they call you the Jerry Seinfeld of France.
I don't like it. And he doesn't like it. Yeah, no, that's funny. We're shooting now. I just finished shooting the first season of my TV series.
Right.
For Netflix. It's called Eugene in France. And it's a comedy show, and Jerry stars in it, and we have an episode where I open for him in France, and I meet him for the first time. I'm not going to reveal everything, but his manager says, "Oh, meet Gad. He's the Seinfeld of France." And Jerry says, "Why? What is that? Who did that?" and we have a whole very Seinfeldy conversation about. Why are you the me of here? I don't need anyone. I don't need anyone to be the me of somewhere else. And I tell him, yeah, but it's just in France. And he's like, yeah, but we're in France, so there are two of me, and it's a whole very quiproquo conversation. It's very funny.
So does that make Jerry then the Gad of America, or?
That's great. Yeah, I like that. Why not? Why not? You know, I think it's an American thing to compare all the time.
Yeah.
I think, you know, when I have friends, they come to Paris and they look at the Eiffel Tower and they're like, oh, that's the Empire State of here. No, that's not cupcakes, but they have another. No, come on, forget what you have. We respect, it's great, but don't try to, you know, I don't know why, but maybe it's more reassuring. Maybe you don't want to, you know, go into this big adventure.
Right, you can immediately
going out there in other countries, maybe. No, I don't know. It's, I don't know. I always hear that when I have my friends, American friends, and even like super smart people, comedians, educated, sophisticated people. Gad, what is that? It's like a donut, but without no, it's another thing. Forget about the donut. Who is she? Is she the Kim Kardashian of Paris? No. Forget about these people.
Tell us a little bit about the episode.
I'm sorry, but I'm sorry to interrupt. That's funny. I met the Jon Stewart of Egypt. I did a gala for the French Lycée of New York, and I know the guy. His name is Bassem Youssef. He's a great Egyptian comedian, Arab comedian, host, TV host. But they introduced Bassem, Gad, Bassem is the Jon Stewart of Egypt. I said, I'm the Seinfeld of France. Can we get the real people here? I felt like we were, you know, those people in Times Square, they do characters.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You know,
the
those
Elmo
guys-
of Times Square. Yeah.
You know, the Batman with the backpack, you know this guy?
That's funny.
Yeah.
Does everyone have an analogous name then in a different country?
We need to find more. He's the Ray Romano of Japan.
So on your tour then, will you be looking for other analogous characters out there? Tell us about your upcoming tour.
So the tour, again, here's, to be really honest about the show in English, of course, and the name is The American Dream. For many reasons, I called it The American Dream. It was kind of sarcastic also at the moment where we created the special. And I remember 2 years ago when I just had moved here to America, I would say to the crowd, I just moved here, and then I would wait and say, perfect timing, right?
Right.
Because you know, the whole situation was so crazy, and I always had this dream, the American dream, is something real. Mm-hmm. I think we kind of forget, and Americans are being sarcastic about it. But let's think about, you know, all the generations and what happened in America, and that's the reality with the immigration, you know, and what happened, especially here in this city that I love. It's very weird. I feel at home in New York. I was born in Morocco, lived in Canada and France, and when I land in New York, I'm like, wow, that's home. I don't know why.
We're very happy to have you.
Thank you so much.
So,
thank you.
You are the...
And doing the show in English obviously was a way to pursue this dream, the American dream, but also allowed me to perform in countries I could never perform because of the language. And it's really funny because I'm going to go and do shows not that far from Paris, an hour away, 2 hours away. I'm going to go to Copenhagen, Oslo. I'm going to go to Amsterdam, Berlin, Antwerp, do my shows in English. And then I'm going to go to Asia, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Singapore. I'm going to go to Dubai, a lot here, a lot in America. And being able to talk to the world because you're doing it in English is great. This is what I'm saying right now to my son all the time. Learn English, please. You have to learn English. That's a key. That's the minimum. For me, it's like, wow, I'm doing it in English. But in a few years, it's going to be, of course you're doing it in English because you have no choice, you know? And it's fantastic. We have a sold-out show in Shanghai.
Wow.
I've never been. I don't even know how. I don't know. Who are the people who are going to come to? I mean, I'm not judging anything, but I'm just curious to see, am I going to the same jokes, the thing about the, I don't know, and Copenhagen, I don't know.
So what are you going to say about the American dream to each of these groups of people?
You know, I'm very dishonest when it comes to international tour, because when I perform in America, I'm like, oh, I understand you guys, and that's my perspective on you Americans, and you're very self-deprecating because you know the stand-up comedy and it's in your culture. And then I'm being very dishonest because I go to other countries and I'm like, have you seen those Americans? Trying to making fun, you know, and like, oh, you guys are with me and blah, blah. But it's a sweet dishonesty. It's not that bad. I kind of share with them my perspective on America and Americans and French also, and Moroccans. I like to mix those three cultures that are talking inside of me right now. And I like to make fun of French people. That's my passion, because I like to complain about people who complain all the time. It's really fun. I'm sure tonight here in the room, some French people must be like, oh, shit, it's in English. It's always. I've been touring so many cities and in America, and I've always been so proud to do my shows in English, and I always have someone, en français! I'm like, really? Really? That's a dream. That's a challenge. I'm starting over. Are you ruining this moment right now? It's on the poster. You know it's going to be in English. Come on. Oh, no, I don't know.
So is France the only place?
On my Instagram, on my Facebook, only French people say, is it going to be the same as Netflix, or are you going to change the show? I'm going to change a little bit, but for them, I'm like, it's the same. But it's okay. That's where I'm from, and I like to make fun of them a lot, and they like it also. It's a very sadomasochism.
Where do you still find your inspiration?
By the way, that's another reason why I'm so happy being in New York, because I don't get recognized, I would say, a lot, not bothered, but not a lot of people.
You don't have the paparazzi or anything?
No, I wish. If you can help me.
Sure. I'll get you hooked up later, yeah.
I mean, I know you work with this magazine. Maybe we can. That would be nice. I mean, by the way, the first days when I moved here, that was so bizarre to me. Like, no one would care, no one would. I was almost like, hey, guys. I would Google myself at night. Make sure they haven't canceled everything. But New York is great for this. Sometimes more than California, more than other cities, because people in New York, are very open to the world more than anywhere else in the country, I would say. So they know, and they maybe from some movies I've done, but I get inspired. I write. I go to cafes, and I can be alone, and it's great because at night I go to the comedy club. I do the thing I prefer. There's nothing that I prefer more than doing stand-up in a comedy club in New York, and I just walk there, and it's totally cool.
So you can just show up and hop on stage?
To be honest, no.
Oh.
Sometimes I would get a guest spot, as they say, but I have to give my availabilities to the club manager so he can book me. Big names can show up, like Jerry could show up, Amy Schumer could show up, Louis C.K. can show up. I don't know, Ray Romano they all pop in, and they're big names. I do it. By the way, I was in France in a club a few weeks ago, and I popped in, as you say here. I popped in. And they said my name, and people were happy, and then I took the mic, and I told this story about New York, and I told them, when I'm in New York, I go to small clubs to work out on my material, and sometimes I'm ready to go on set, on stage, and the manager really happened often, comes up to me and says, Gad, you're not gonna go on, I'm so sorry, because we have Aziz and Amy, and so maybe you after, not now, and I get bumped, as they say, and I say to the French crowd, tonight I'm taking my revenge. Because some young French comics are waiting and they are bumped tonight. And it's just to understand how it works, But one day I can go and just, pop in. Maybe I could have one guest spot.
Right.
What is the difference between a guest spot and being in the lineup? You don't get paid if it's a guest spot.
Oh, well, that's a big difference.
Not a big difference, because It doesn't, they pay you, but it's not a lot of money. I wish the French press could know how much they give me, because French people are so obsessed about why do you make money, how you make money, why do you have money, why is the money. I would love to bring a French journalist with me, and I would love him to be here sitting when they hand me this $50 after my set. And I'm signing something, and I would love them to, because they're obsessed with this. In France, it's a taboo. We have the taboo with money you guys have with sex.
So it's a trade-off. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna take the money, you take the sex. Oh, the money, oh, the sex. Which one do you want?
That is funny. Well, I think we're gonna go ahead and you feel like answering some questions?
Of course,
Does anyone have any questions?
I'm ready to answer some questions. When I was when we were in the green room. By the way, I never understood why they call it a green room, because it's never green.
Ever.
Never.
No.
We were there, and they asked me if I wanted to have how you say cards.
Oh yeah.
With the
Yeah.
written questions of the people who do. I said no. We're gonna go just spontaneous and take questions, because people are gonna be so smart, and so. Are you ready? But maybe they can ask. I'm ready to ask, to answer. Ask you a question, maybe answer
Right.
to your questions. That was a very French way of going through this with a lot of words.
With extra words.
I talked a lot right now.
Okay.
Stop it. Browsing. Yes, sir.
Your new series, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Is it a mix of improv and scripted, or it's all scripted, all improv? Could you share some?
So the new series we just finished to shoot 2 days ago, the scene was at Town Hall, is all scripted, but because it's about my life and about the journey, coming to America. Also, there's a story with my son in the show, because my son lived in Los Angeles with his mother for many years. And in the show, I tried to reconnect with my son, who became American. And it's very hard. The first day, when I want to give him a kiss and he gives me a hug. I was born in Morocco. I want to do like this. And he's like, hey, Dad, what's up? So it's all scripted, but because it's about my life and the character is me, so it's easy to me for me to go with improv. So sometimes I would improv on my dialogues, not the situations, because it's scripted and single camera like a movie. I was the only one who was allowed to improv on this series. Yeah, sure.
Do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Oh, I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. I love this show. I've never met him. I would love to meet him if you can organize.
Sure. We'll get
I really love this show. I think it's so smart and funny. And the last time I saw him live was in a play also. It was very funny. It was called Fishing in the Dark or Fish in the Dark. It was really, really hilarious. And he's great. He's great.
We have a question
Yes.
right there.
Because you're from France, I thought you'd want to know my cousin went to Italy last summer.
You got a great laugh.
Yeah, that was good.
I'm supposed to be on stage. You speak Hebrew. Have you ever given your show in Israel
I speak Hebrew too and Arabic.
or to an Israeli audience?
Yeah, I speak. So I did shows. Sorry, what was the question? Because the first part was great. You killed.
Have you given your show in Israel
Oh, yeah.
to an Israeli audience, and how did they react?
Oh, yeah. So I did my show in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. I did a show in Tel Aviv at Eichal HaTarbut, Jerusalem in Binyan Neuma. And it was for a French-speaking audience, but I mixed it and I put Hebrew, because I speak Hebrew. And it's interesting. And I did this, and when I play in Morocco, I perform in French, but I put some Arabic, some derija, like the Arabic we speak in the street. So I mix it, but I haven't done yet a full show in Hebrew or Arabic. That would be a good special, but it would take, wow, a few months, I would say. But I'll let you know. Whoa.
We've seen you show 3 times.
3 times. That's not a lot. You remember everything.
You speak Canadian, too.
Oui, c'est ça. What's your name, sir?
Jeff.
Jeff. Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Your wife. Enchanté. Jeff. So I speak Hebrew, and it's a good question because surprisingly, where did I learn Hebrew? In Morocco. And I'm always very thankful and amazed by how in Morocco, I think it's the only Arab country on the planet where the two communities really lived together. And we have this tradition of, living together. Still now, there is something that nobody talks in the world because it doesn't excite a lot the press when it's all good.
True.
There's a saying in French, we say, on parle jamais des trains qui arrivent à l'heure. Means we never talk about trains that are on time,
Right. How the trains.
There's a school in Casablanca called Observational, where Jewish kids and Muslim kids learn Hebrew and Arabic. And this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And this is an example for me. And I learned Hebrew in Morocco. I have memories from moments of my life for Pesach, Rosh Hashanah, where we would celebrate it more than in France. We would have flowers all over the road on the Mimuna, last day of Pesach, because we were sharing with, we're just living together. I don't know. I don't see this in France, unfortunately. So sorry?
You are fluent in Hebrew.
I am fluent in Hebrew, כן. אני יכול לדבר איתך עכשיו. وإلا بغيتي تهضر بالعربية دنيا هانية حتى هي. And thanks to Muhammad V, who stopped the Nazis from taking the Jews from Morocco. Did you know that story? It's an amazing story. Nobody tells this story. The king of Morocco, Muhammad V, stopped the Nazis from taking the Jews from Morocco. But, you should talk about that.
Yes.
Yes? Yes, sir. What was the question?
Which U.S. city did you bump most in? Bump most in?
What's the U.S. city?
Yeah, which U.S. city did you get bumped most in?
Oh. No, I have to say, honestly, once I bombed in New York, like the first time. But that's a weird question, but let's talk. When have you been really sad and miserable? All right? Have you ever been broke? Yeah. Yeah. Are you just single or you can't find a woman?
Right.
I bombed. You look miserable. I bombed in New York the first time I did this thing I talked to you about. But after, because I had worked out the material, I didn't bomb in Chicago, D.C. One city was a little Pittsburgh. For some reason. Yes, sir. Oh, we have a comedy expert in the room. Hi, Jeff. How are you? Can you tell the people who you are, please? Because I'm very happy to see you here in the room. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. What did he say? It was hard, man. It was really hard because, again, I discovered that, and immigrants, foreigners will relate to that. I really make a difference between speaking in English and speaking English. When you first arrive and when you move to America, you speak in English. You're like, okay, what do I want to say? I have those information. I need to translate, and then and it's tiring. It's exhausting.
You're constantly
like French people when they move here, it's exhausting. Like you think you speak English, but then after 10 minutes you meltdown. You're like, and I would translate everything like, I don't know, you go from French to English. So, yeah, hi, is it possible that I sit with you now so that, and then we are going to talk because it's exhausting. And then one day, because you work a lot, I worked with the English teacher who is also a dialect coach. She would come every day to my apartment here in Tribeca, and I live in Tribeca. I own a place there, and I'm single. So,
I'm gonna let the paparazzi know after
please.
this.
She would come every morning. It's like when they say, for the trainer, like the personal trainer, when you want to work out, oh, you can't work out if someone is not coming to your door and knocking on your door and makes you work. It's the same. She would come every morning. She killed me. I love her. Her name is Julia Leonard, and she's the best. And we have this very, very close relationship, but she killed me. I hated her sometimes because she would come to my house, stay 1 hour and a half every morning for 2 years. Every morning, I don't even know how you say, I don't care. And then, but she would be so obsessionnel. Like sometimes I would say, okay, she's like, okay, we're done. And I'm like, okay, thank you, Julia, see you tomorrow. And she would be like, no, tomorrow. All right, Julia, tomorrow. Okay, good. Yeah, it's done. Done. All right. Bye. The elevator is there. Elevator. And one day, when she was doing this, I was trying to imagine. I want to write a bit about that. Let's imagine I have kind of a love story or something with my dialect coach, and we're in bed, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so good, and she's like, good. Good. And it would be interesting because I told her, but she didn't laugh because these days in America, you don't want to make this kind of joke to a coworker. So it's been, a lot of work, a lot of listening to NPR all the time. Because they speak slowly, these people, for some reason. I love NPR.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, even a catastrophe, it's always, yesterday, 10 people died. But it's great because you understand everything. And the English is so, I think it's a very, how would you say? I don't know, I worked and I would listen to NPR every day, even when I was in France with Julia a lot. The hardest thing was to read the newspaper because she would say, okay, read the newspaper whenever there's something you don't understand, you highlight.
Right.
But all the newspaper was... And something that helped me a lot, it's not a crazy tip, everyone knows that, maybe French people know that. So it's to watch American movies or shows with English subtitles. It's great because you're like, oh, this word is this? Oh, gotta go is G-O-T-T-A?
Yeah.
Gotta. Oh, gotta go. Oh, and you're like a kid. You know those little toys, like the round with the round, triangle with triangle, square with square? You're like doing, and so I worked, I have to say, Jeff, I worked hard. I'm not gonna, I worked hard on the English, and it's not, I have more to learn, and it depends on my, not the mood, but if I'm like tired, I can't. It's, the morning is great. The morning for me is great. I love doing morning shows on the radio because I don't know why, my English is great in the morning.
So how about how is 8 o'clock at night?
It's the worst. It's,
Right down.
no. How is your French?
Oh, bad.
Really bad?
Yeah, terrible.
One word?
Oui.
Okay. Yes. I'm sorry, I can't hear.
In France, a lot of children learn your speech and your joke. I bring my kids to your show. They learn by heart. Most of you, I learn.
In French.
But I don't see any children American who learn joke like following an artist like you. Do you notice that?
I'm not sure I understood everything. Do you want to say, do you speak French?
Yes.
Okay, so say it in French.
Les enfants apprennent vos jokes, votre spectacle. Ils savent par cœur. Même les enfants qui sont nés ici, ils ont appris. Mais je ne vois pas des enfants américains qui suivent un artiste comme vous, qui apprennent.
I still don't understand in French.
Let me translate now.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Of course I understand. No. Someone in Arabic or Hebrew, please? It's really, I liked, it's very nice, flattering, of course, because you're talking about the kids who are learning my jokes in France. And it's always really moving when I, walk around in Paris and kids know gags, lines that I did in my shows. Are you comparing to kids here who would learn from? It's really interesting, you know why? Because
But you have American kids.
yeah, but what's really surprising is I think young kids, which I don't know, maybe you could tell me. I don't think kids in America watch stand-up. It's something when you get maybe a little older.
That's true. I would say for the most part, until they're teenagers, and now
Yeah,
they'll watch
that's where-
YouTube and things like that. But young kids in general, it's not really part of the culture.
But if you can show them my show, then we get the paparazzis, and
Yes,
then we have
exactly. They'll start streaming.
set me up. Yes, mademoiselle.
What kind of emotion?
Sorry.
What kind of emotion is it inspiring you the most to write text? Joy, sadness, hope, love, the transition?
What do you find? What emotion?
It's amazing
What emotion
that you translate
makes
in
you-
English.
Yeah, right.
She just said something in English, and now you're translating in English.
In English.
And now I have to do my thing.
Right.
So.
If only I could speak French. Yes. So when you're at your best, when you're writing, what is it you're generally
Starbucks.
feeling?
You mean when I'm
Are you
coffee
usually-
beans?
Yeah. Like, are you happy? Are you sad? Are
Oh. That's really interesting. That was not
you?
the
Oh,
question.
that wasn't the question.
Well, no, I want to hear the question. The inspiration. How do I get?
What type of emotion do you like most to play? And this is what she tried to explain.
When I perform? No. She's not happy with this. Nobody can understand her. No. I want to know the question.
Mais quand tu écris, c'est quoi les émotions que tu adores écrire
Oh.
et qui t'inspirent le plus?
Oh. What are the? Oh, what is inspiring me and what are the emotions? Okay. I think je ne Now I start to have, but the thing is, I know you cannot help me.
Is it?
Maybe my friend is going to help me. Je ne calcule pas, je ne prévois pas à l'avance. Comment on dit en anglais? Je ne prévois pas à l'avance. It's always good to have a friend sitting front row.
Exactly. Plant.
Anticipate. I don't anticipate. Okay, I'm going to give you a very concrete example. I was in an Uber today, and I don't know why. I got in the car, and I say, what if one day I get in the car, and I say to the driver, do you want a candy or water?
You're going to offer
Yeah.
them.
And I don't know why I got this idea. I know why. We all know why. But I don't have the bit yet. I don't know what's going to be. But I'm sure this is going to be something in a few. Like, I would love to say I have candies if you want. And I have here if you need, whatever. And my temperature is okay. And you're
Not
okay.
for a phone charger.
You're okay with my temperature? You want to charge your phone? And I don't know where I'm going with that. But it's just, I would say it's not about emotions, as you said, but it's just, you're constantly thinking. Comedians are always thinking and deconstructing. And listen, I went to, this is an example, I went to the US Open with my friend Jerry Seinfeld the other day. I was so happy. I love tennis, and it was like thousands of people, very focused, but we were obsessed by. We had so much fun. Of course, the show was great. Two big champions, Del Potro, Djokovic. But we were just talking about how high the referee was, and they cannot really shake his hand. It's too high, and he has to bend over. We were talking about why do players got those new rackets in plastic bags all the time? Like if it was new, like a gift. People with the commentaire, people, they're live and they give them things with
like
the
an
commentator
earpiece.
and they watch
An
the thing
earpiece, yeah.
live and have the comment. So we were watching all that. So we're constantly observing and not making fun of, but with, you know? It's like, look at what happened just now. We use reality, the language, how complex, how hard it is, and make it something funny, you know? C'est tout. Oui.
We only have.
Oui, mademoiselle.
I just wanted to thank you for being so humble and kind to your audience, because actually, when I was 10 years old, you invited me on stage at one of your first shows in Dubai.
Oh.
No, but it really stuck with me, and like, it like got me to get over my stage fright, and like I've done, things in my life because of you. And
Wow. Merci beaucoup.
Wow. We have time for just one more question.
And I just
Oh.
I just wanted to know how you got over your stage fright, because that's.
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Le trac, right? This is how we call the trac. It's so, the word is brutal in French, trac. It's like stage, how you say stage? Fright.
Stage fright.
Yeah, le trac and the nervous. There's a great little anecdote I love in the French theater culture. A big actor, this young actor came up to him, theater actor, and said to this actor, Louis Jouvet, you know, Mr. Jouvet, I go on stage all the time, and I'm never scared. And I don't have the stage, right? Nothing. I'm not nervous, and I can go anytime, and I'm so happy that. And the old man looked at him, and he said to him, don't worry, it will come with the talent.
That is great.
I just think you can never get rid of this. You just learn how to transform it. And again, I'm sorry, I'm going to mention again Jerry, because he got me into this, and I'm very thankful. Him and George Shapiro, a figure in the comedy world and in meditation, and because of the meditation, it changed my life, really. So I have this, and also I try to transform. It's an energy. La peur, it's an energy. It's not something that is blocking you. It's an energy. You can transform it, really. You have to be a little scared. You have to be a little nervous. I was tonight. I'm always, because it's not une peur. It's not une peur, a fright, a fear that is totally, blocking you. But it's paralyzed. Yeah, it's useful. You need it. It's great.
Right.
You transform it, and it's great to see someone a little vulnerable on stage. That's why you laugh. If someone is so, I don't know, it's not really great. I'm not touched by artists who are not scared. I'm touched by artists who are hiding it and managing it so well that I can see in their eyes a little, oh, you're still a human being. Thank you. And it's great. And we cannot explain it, but this is what happens when you go to a concert. Singers, you go even to a big thing, and they have those screens. What you see in those screens in their eyes, it's not the fear. It's like something emotional. That's why you like the song, but you also like that this person is up there and like, oh my God, he's asking to himself, how am I going to do this too? But it's just professional, I will never want to get rid totally of this fear, this little nervosity.
Exactly. It gives you you have adrenaline.
Oh yeah. I need it. And just to finish that, I think this is the main reason why I took the challenge to start over again, because I wanted to be scared, impressed, étonné again, fascinated again, and go to theater with this fear that reminds me when I first started 25 years ago. The first time when I would go to Joe's Pub from my place, walking, I was like, wow, how are you gonna do this? Now it's easy. I'm like, I'm talking, and then it's in English, and then. But can you imagine, like just 4 years ago, 3 years ago, shit, I'm gonna do this in English tonight. Why am I doing this? Why? I'm doing great. In France, I go in arena in Belgium, Switzerland. Why do I have to go in this little room with a wired mic and talk to the crowd? Because I love to be scared.
That's
Why
great.
were you attracted to being in the U.S.? I'm curious about that.
Again, the U.S. is, I wouldn't say the U.S., I would say New York. Because this is where the stand-up comedy was born. And if I was into cars, I would have moved to Germany. If I was in pasta, I would have moved to Milan, or in fashion. But honestly, comedy, for the stand-up, as I said, I feel at home here. I don't know why. I don't know how to describe, And New Yorkers, you know what I'm talking about. This is very...
Absolutely. The energy and everything.
But not talking about those people from Brooklyn.
Well, which is where I live.
I respect that, and I
Living in
understand. But, you got a great view on Manhattan, which is
I
great.
do. I have a good. It's nice to see New York.
Yeah, but
the city.
you have to be in... If you move to New York, you want to be in New York.
Yes,
I always say that to because a lot of French people live in Brooklyn, Williamsburg. It's plenty of French people. I always tease them. I'm like, you're in Brooklyn, you can look at Manhattan. Come on, it's like dating a hot girl's sister. Come on, it's like.
Well, on that note, we have to say.
You can see it. You can talk, but you can touch. It's like, what is that? You want to be in Manhattan? Come on. Okay.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so much.
Thank you very much for coming out.
And thank you so much. Thank
Hey.
you. You were great too. Thank you. You
Hey.
helped me a lot.